Welcome in, I'm Artris, and in this video we're going to finish up going over all of the new leaders from OP16 with finally talking about Purple Sengoku, a 5-life leader that says activate main. You may return 8 of your active Dawn cards to your Dawn deck and play up to 3 Admiral type character cards with different names from your hand. Now when this leader was announced, I think this was the first leader that we all saw, and that leader ability sounded very broken, seeing that you could bring out 3 7-cost bodies all at the same time. But I think that as we've developed this meta, this leader hasn't really performed nearly as well as people may have initially thought it would. That said, I do think it actually topped a Chinese tournament here recently, which is pretty cool to see that there are other decks out there that are winning that are not named Blue-Yellow Nami, Blue-Green Luffy, or Purple Enel. So it's really nice that we're getting a little bit of variety there. I probably also rated it a little bit too lowly in my tier list. I think I probably put it near the bottom of the OP16 decks. And to be honest, I think it actually is probably one of the worst decks to come out of OP16. But even then, it's still a good deck in comparison to all of the other decks out there right now. I think that probably just speaks a little bit to the power level of OP16 and just every set that comes afterwards, right? But before we go over the deck list and into the gameplay, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button and give the video a thumbs up. It helps out the channel so much. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord community. The link for that is in the description below. So because this leader is trying to find 3 very specific Admiral type characters, we are trying to use our early turns to be able to find those pieces. It's very important because this is a combo-centric deck. One way we're able to do that is with this new Kobe that looks at the top 5 and grabs 1 Navy type card other than Kobe. We also have another way to do that with this Suru, which also looks at the top 5 and grabs a Navy type card. But unfortunately with this Suru, it's a 2k counter, so you're spending a 2k counter to do this. And then secondly, you have to trash a card from hand after you do the search. So usually you're not trying to play this card unless you're desperate to find a piece because you're actually going down in hand size. And that leads into the point of why I think that this deck, I personally rated a little bit lower. You have a very hard time keeping up a big hand size with this deck. Of course, when you're playing out 3 7-cost bodies in a single turn and the deck doesn't have inherent card draw, you go down in hand size incredibly fast, and especially if you start trying to protect the characters that turn sideways. Suru doesn't help with that game plan at all because obviously you're dumping a card by playing this out. You're also dumping a 2k. So like I said, if you're desperate, play the Suru out. Otherwise, we're going to be playing this Kobe out. We also have this 1-cost Buddha, which can look at the top 5 and grab 2 Navy type cards, and then you have to trash 1 card from your hand. So you're not going negative like Suru, and this one will be able to grab 2 pieces, very similar to how Blue Leo is for Usopp, grabbing 2 combo pieces and then dumping the worst card from your hand. So I really like Buddha, and I also like Kobe for my early game. You can also play this 1-cost Stage, which looks at the top 5 and grabs a Navy type card, so very similar to Kobe. And then afterwards, you can activate main Dawn -1, rest the stage, and draw 1, trash 1. You're going to be using that in subsequent turns, not usually the same turn that you're playing this down, unless you have extra Dawn to spare. The other really important piece to this deck, besides searching for your combo pieces, is to be able to ramp up to 8 as soon as possible. So as a result, I'm running a playset of the 2-cost Rosie blocker. It says on play, rest 2 of your Dawn cards. If your leader has the Navy type, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. I have this at 4 of because typically with this deck, I'm going to want to go first, but in case I don't go first and I still need a ramp option on my 4 Dawn turn, this will be able to do it for me. You're not going to be able to get to 8 any sooner with this card, but you are able to get to 7 1 turn sooner so that you can play one of your Admirals first and then the next turn pop off by playing 3 more. If you are going first, we have options on 5, which is the 5-cost Sengoku 2k counter. On play, if your leader has the Navy type, add up to 2 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck and rest them, then draw 2, trash 2. I typically don't like playing this one as much as I like playing Garp. Garp is a 5-cost 6,000 power body with a 1k counter. It also allows you to ramp 2. One of them comes in rested, one of them comes in standing. You don't get the filter like Sengoku, but you're also not expending a 2k counter in doing so. We're only running 8 2k counters in this deck, so it is somewhat important to keep these in your hand. But if you do need to ramp up to be able to get to 8 the following turn, Sengoku is a perfectly fine choice, but typically we're going to be looking to play this Garp on our 5 Dawn turn. So what options do we have for our Admirals? Well, we're running the playset of 7-cost 8,000 power Kuzan. On play, add up to 2 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck and rest them, and then activate main once per turn. Dawn -1 up to one of your opponent's characters cannot activate blocker during this turn. A couple things here. If you are using your leader ability, obviously you're subtracting 8 Dawn, so it really hurts you by doing that, and being able to ramp up a little bit more with some of these bodies that are coming in is very important. So being able to ramp up 2 Dawn cards because of this Kuzan at least helps you get back up to where you might be able to repeat the same process the next turn. Second thing here, being able to negate a blocker is very important in this meta. There's quite a lot of blockers that we want to get past, and just being able to negate anything that has blocker on it is very important. Doesn't matter if it's a 10-cost Newgate, 7-cost cost Sabo, whatever it is, you can negate that block. The next card we're running is 7 cost 8,000 power Sakazuki. This is the best card in the deck. It's an on-play Dawn -1, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 6,000 power until the end of your opponent's next end phase. So an entire turn cycle, a character is reduced by 6,000 power, efficiently negating a block or an attack, or you can make it a really easy trade by attacking a body into it, or you can also interact with it, which we'll get to in a second. The second part of this ability says activate main once per turn. You may rest one of your Dawn cards. If your leader has the Navy type, add up to 2 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck and set them as active. You can do this every turn. So of course, this is going to be a really important piece to keep on your field, because if you are able to at least have this stick every turn, you're able to ramp up further and further. There's a reason that this card is being ran in other purple decks, just because the effect is so darn good. And then finally, for our Admiral options, we're running a playset of the 7 cost 8,000 power Borsalino. On play, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active, and then add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. End of your turn, you can also Dawn -2 and set this character as active, and then this character gains blocker until the end of your opponent's next end phase. With this one, once again, we are able to ramp back up. So with the Kuzan ramping 2, with the Sakazuki also ramping, and then this one ramping an additional 2, it's very easy to get that Dawn that you actually minused right back. Typically, when I am playing this down on the same turn, I'm not using the Dawn -2 ability to make this restand and also become a blocker, because, well, it comes in standing upright, so you're losing half of that ability. And the blocker is only really important if you are going to die the next turn, which if you're playing this down on curve, you're usually in a pretty healthy spot. Now, we are able to interact with the Sakazuki ability with a couple of cards we have in the deck. So we're running a playset of Mamoragan from OP15. It's a Dawn -2, draw 1 card, then rest up to one of your opponent's characters with 5,000 power or less. So with the Sakazuki ability, it's hitting anything 11,000 power or below, so you can rest it and trade into it if you so choose. The second part of it is a counter that says up to one of your leader or characters gains 1,000 power during the battle, and then if you have 6 or less Dawn cards on your field, draw a card. So very easy to hit both of those stipulations, but also you can just use it as a 1k counter in the late game if you have 6 or more Dawn cards, so not a bad card overall. The other way we can interact with the board is with this 2 cost Gum Gum Lightning. So with Sakazuki coming down, if you have 2 extra Dawn available, you can use this effect for 2 Dawn -2, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 6,000 power or less. So this will be able to hit a 12,000 power character with the Sakazuki ability. Quite the overwhelming play, and I think that this deck is somewhat of a hidden tempo deck. It's not really a hidden tempo deck, being able to flood the board, but also being able to interact with the board, I think makes it a little bit more strong than what people might have anticipated, because of the fact that Lightning and Mamoragan are such cheap removal tools. The other event that we're running is the 1 cost 3 Admirals event. You can use the main effect that says rest 3 of your Dawn cards. So for 4 total, up to 3 of your Admiral type characters gain plus 2,000 power during this turn. Just a great way to be Dawn efficient to close out games. And then the counter is if you have an Admiral type character, up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 4,000 power during this battle. So a plus 4,000 for a leader or character is very nice in this economy. I think that the fact that a lot of cards nowadays are a 1 cost plus 3 for only leader tends to mean that cards that are also being able to protect leaders and characters, and for plus 4,000 makes this card really strong and worth running in the deck, because as I mentioned, we're only running 8 2Ks. We're going to want to hold on to those 2Ks as much as possible. We have a lot of bricks in the deck as well, and for this 1 cost event, for it being so cheap and plus 4,000 power, really worth running. Overall, I'm still not really impressed with the deck, just because it doesn't fit my playstyle. I don't like going too low in hand size, and this deck will definitely suffer from that, but I do realize just the strength of being able to cheat out those bodies all in 1 turn, and especially when your opponent likely hasn't developed nearly as well in their previous turns, this deck can really overwhelm a lot of people. So that being said, I think that this list is pretty solid. The ratios, I think, are pretty solid for me. We could go over some of them at the end of the video, but stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's take this list into the sim and see how it does. Into Rosie, I think that, well, they're going to go first, which is not what we want. We want to take first away from them for our own curve, and also because their curve is pretty good going first. That's fine, though. I think we have a pretty solid hand because we have all 3 of the Admirals that we need, and we also have a way to ramp up with both the Rosie and then also the Garp that we just drew into. First turn, we're not really going to do anything here. We're just going to sit back. If they swing 5, we can use them on Mamoragan, but most of the time, they're just going to swing 6, which could be a problem if they decide to play the Rip Law, which is going to get 2 cards out of hand if that's the case, but usually they're not going to do that because they want to be able to play out a little bit better of an attacker or blocker, which they just free block that one. That's fine. We expect it. We're going to use the Rosie ability to ramp up. Swinging 5 here, what we can do is just use them on Mamoragan just to get the free draw so that we are efficiently getting out of that. 7 into 5, yeah, we'll take that one. And then here's probably going to be the 6 cost Rosian Law, which allows them to, you know, ramp up, draw a card. They're doing their stuff. They're seeing their perfect curve. We're also seeing what we need to as well, but I think it's fine. I guess we could just Sakazuki here, minus this, and just prevent them from blocking. because if they want to block this one, they're going to have to rip life anyway. So I think that's fine just to get the Sakazuki online and prevent this thing from attacking next turn anyway. The Borsalino was probably a solid play as well, but I think just having one less attacker on their side is more important than having the potential ramp up on my end. And we can still do our pop-off turn next turn anyway, while also having the Sakazuki to reestablish more Dawn as well. Just have to make sure to use it, because sometimes when I'm playing this, I forget to use the Sakazuki ability, but that's, you know, that's my bad. On this turn, they are at 7, so they could play a Sakazuki of their own, and that would be very interesting to see, because then they might have a way to interact with the Sakazuki, which we don't necessarily want them to do. Obviously, we want to keep as many bodies on the field as possible. The other option that they have is just to swing like 7s and then play out another Rosie-in-Law, and that could be just as bad. Sakazuki it is. We're okay with that. We're not happy with that, but we're okay with that depending on what they do here. 5 into lead. I'm going to go ahead and just give them a 1k and then take the other hit if they decide to swing. They decide not to swing at all. I'm okay with that. We're going to go ahead and just immediately use the Sakazuki ability while we remember to do it. Then we'll use the Dawn -8 to then put out 3 Admirals. So we're going to put out the Borsalino, the Sakazuki, and the Kuzan. Kuzan's really good in this matchup because it prevents one block from happening, which is nice. We'll go ahead and just minus the Rosie-in-Law again. I don't know if I really need to use the Kuzan ability. I guess we could, but I think it's fine not to. We'll use the Buddha to grab a couple of things, one of them being Marineford, and we'll toss out a Borsalino because we don't need another one. And then what we'll do is we'll play out the Marineford, grab the Buddha, and then from the Buddha, we'll play out probably next turn. No, let's go ahead and use the Kuzan ability right now just to prevent the Law from blocking. 5 into 5, and then I think we could probably leave one open for the 3 Admirals event, or also just use the Buddha. I don't know. We're fine either way. We're in a good spot. Let's just make sure we're extra safe here. Have one extra blocker, and then leave one open for the 3 Admirals event. What's nice here is that we can re-ramp up really easily with double Sakazuki on the field. With 3 life and then 5 cards in hand, we're actually in a pretty good spot, despite this deck not really drawing too well. From here, though, it's a little bit awkward on how we want to proceed with what we're doing. Do we want to take back the board? It's kind of hard to against Rosie because of the fact that they have built-in protection for their laws, but we can answer the Sakazuki potentially. They're going to go ahead and just play another Sakazuki on their turn. Yeah, that's expected. And then if they want to use the Sakazuki abilities to ramp up, they have an opportunity to play like Gum Gum Lightning for 2 Dawn if they have it, which that could also be pretty devastating as well. This is why this card is so good, especially in other decks not named Sengoku, because if you have it in, like, for instance, Rosie, they're able to use all of these abilities and then ramp right back up to 10 and stay around that 10. So really hard to compete with, but of course, you know, just like Sengoku, Rosie also runs a lot of bricks, so we have to keep that in mind. There's a way that we could just like break past them with swinging a bunch of 8s. So we'll have to see what they do here, though. The worst thing they could possibly do would be Gum Gum Lightning. And it looks like it's not Gum Gum Lightning because they're putting a Dawn underneath their leader, so that's really good for us. We'll go ahead and take the 6, and then if they swing 8, I think we can probably, we just block this one just to make sure that we have like board space for the next turn. I don't think they're going to swing their Law. If they want to, that's getting a little bit risky, but yeah, I think they're just going to keep it upright. Here, we're going to just immediately start using the Sakazuki ability so we ramp up efficiently. We could use another ability here, but we don't have 3 Admirals, so we just have a lot of counter in hand. Let's see what we can get off of the Sengoku, or the Buddha rather. We'll grab a Sakazuki, really nice there, pitching out a Kobe, and then let's go ahead and just use the Sakazuki. Do we want to use it on the, I think we'll just use it on the rested Sakazuki to be able to trade into this the best that we can. We'll prevent the Rosie-in-Law from blocking, and we'll swing 5 into 2. I guess one of the reasons why they want to keep a double blocker up is because if they leave one blocker up, then it's kind of just not doing anything anyway. So it's either leave 2 up or swing both of them. And I think they'd rather just keep the safe option there. 5 into 2, they could just free block this one with the 4-cost Law, which is probably not the best idea, to be quite honest, because if they do that, then I'm probably going to start swinging into it as well. Swing like the Kuzan just to guarantee to get the Sakazuki off the field, and then swing 8-8, and that's going to be kind of hard to protect. Of course, they just let that one go, and then we can start swinging the 8s into their life. Once again, this is going to be very difficult to be able to protect from their point of view, just because 8s are really difficult against 6k bodies. So nice to see that we're applying some pressure here, although I would imagine, yeah, this one's probably going to be blocked. Are they going to block in? Oh, that's actually a pretty good event. I love you because they are at 2. They're able to get 1 card back in hand, and then pitching out a Borsalino. We'll go 8 into 6, just seeing if they are going to protect this one with cards out of hand or if they take the life. It's the same thing if we swing 8 into lead or 8 into 6. Well, it's not necessarily the same thing, but I prefer this because it gives them the option of getting cards out of their hand as opposed to them very just likely taking the 8 to face. I don't think they're going to be countering out with 2/2Ks if we went 8 into 5. If they give us a 2 and a 1 against this attack, I think we come out on top here. They do give us a 2 and 1. That's really good to see. We're going to go ahead and another Borsalino as well, which is great to get out of their hands. We're going to have our Borsalino BA blocker this turn because we definitely need it. Although we actually have pretty good amounts of cards in hand, a couple of 3 2Ks, a 1K, and then also another 1K with the Mamaragan. And because we are at 6 or less, the Mamaragan also draws us a card, which we might have bricks left in the deck at this point. So point being, it's pretty nice to be able to grab that or have the Mamaragan online. They play Marineford of their own because, yeah, they're also a Navy type leader, so pretty good. What's really great about Rosie is that they have access to be able to grab the Borsalino blocker or the Sakazuki, making it a really consistent, strong deck. Of course, it does struggle against decks like Purple Enel, but you know what? A lot of decks do in general, so understandable. Another Rosie and Law comes down, another blocker in our way. They might just swing with their leader and Sakazuki, as I mentioned, just keeping as many blockers up as possible could be important to them. I don't know if I'm ever going to be trading into the Rosie and Law or attempting to. We might, if they ever turn their law, the 4-cost law sideways, then we might want to trade into that. But otherwise, I think what we do is just attack face as much as possible, or the Sakazuki if it does turn sideways. Looks like they're going to load onto the Sakazuki and go 10 into 8. They're probably just trying to play the game of burn as many cards out of my hand as possible, which is understandable. We're only losing 1 card here, which is nice overall. If they decide to swing another 10 into it with their 6-cost Rosie and Law, we can still get out of it, and we don't necessarily want to dump cards out of hand, but I think having a board full of 8K bodies the next turn might be just overwhelming in general. They're just going to cycle out with the Mamaragan. They have no way of resting anything, but they're just using it to draw a card, getting rid of a Sakazuki off of their Marineford. They're really digging through their deck. I'm not entirely sure what they're looking for. That being said, they had 3 Sakazukis in their hand at some point, so that's kind of crazy that they had all of those available. I guess we did as well. So you know what? Maybe it's not that crazy overall. Now the question is, what are they actually looking for? Because with only 3 available Dawn left, they don't really have too many good options unless they're trying to find a 4-cost law to use with their leader ability. Looks like they're just going to swing probably face. I think we just free block this one and attempt to force them to swing their other characters. That way we can turn the standing Rosie and Law that might be remaining off. We'll just have to see what they do because like they've been playing it really safe, which is understandable because the Kuzan is actually quite the menacing character to face. All right, they just passed the turn as is, and I think what we can do is, once again, use the Sakazuki abilities, but because we just paid for that one, I don't know if we want to use the Kuzan just immediately right now. Let's go ahead and just use the Dawn that we used to pay for it to cycle our hand. I guess we could get rid of a Rosie blocker. We don't necessarily need that. We'll swing 5 in the lead, just see if we can bait out a block or maybe a card from hand. Both of those are fine. Not the card we wanted to bait out of hand. That's okay. Let's just trade into the Sakazuki and just get as many cards out as possible. I think this might be probably not the best option for us, but I do think it's fine to kind of grind their hand out here for one more turn. I'm not incredibly worried about dying on the crackback. So I think it's fine to go ahead and just get as much value out as possible. Let's see if we can find... No, let's do the Sakazuki ability first, and then afterwards use this to play out the Sengoku, the Buddha effect, grabbing 3 Admirals and a 2K, and I guess we can toss the Kobe because it's like the worst counter value in our hand. And then what we can do is swing 10 into the Sakazuki. Once again, we're just trying to grind cards out of their hand. We could just instead hit them in face, but I think it's kind of the same thing at this point because they're going to be using their blockers anyway if they want to protect something. This way, we're at least guaranteeing or getting close to guaranteeing to get a body off the field. And then we'll also have the other swings as well going to face. If they want to counter out of this one, that's great for us. They're going to go ahead and just block that one. Block and let it go. If they actually block and let the rip, if they blocked and then let the life rip, I would have actually just hit face at that point, but smart on their part to just be able to block and let it go. 10 and 8. Now they're going to use that ability. I think what we can do here is actually focus our attention, turn the Rosie off, and then swing 9 into lead. And then maybe another 9 into lead with the Borsalino. Leave 2 open for the 3 Admirals events, just in case they are able to survive this double 9K. The 9, this one's probably going to connect, I would imagine. Nope, it's not. Okay. So what does that mean? It means that we can instead swing this Borsalino into this Sakazuki. Now, actually, getting rid of this blocker might be useful as well because of the fact that, well, with the double blocker, they can leave one open and then they have to be able to block one. If we get rid of one of their last blockers, then the Kuzan really just turns this last Rosi-in-law off. So they kind of have to go for game here, which is not really possible based off of my hand. Down comes a Borsalino, the third one. They have seen a lot of good cards here. The ability for Rosi just to prolong the game as much as possible and then also be able to trade is very, very scary. But of course, I think we are able to just close the game out this next turn. We could use the 3 Admirals event to be able to pump up all of the characters and then swing in for really big. But of course, with only 1 card in hand and a couple of blockers up, it's not really that bad. Looks like another 10 into 8, just trying to get cards out of our hand. I don't think they want to give us anything from our life right now. And they want to kind of preserve themselves as best as possible, although getting rid of 1 body on my side of the field isn't really going to help them out too much in the long run. 10 into 8. What we can do here is just do a double 2K or a Mamaragon 2K. It doesn't really matter at this point. The Mamaragon doesn't draw us anything, but it's okay. It's still a 1K counter. And then if they want to swing into lead, be my guest. I might just free block it, but also I might just let it go because, I mean, it doesn't matter. We're trying to close out the game here is the point. Using Marineford to cycle out. Once again, they're not able to really find anything, I would imagine, for only 2 Dawn. Unless they have a way to play out another blocker, like a 4-cost blocker for 2. That is a possibility. So they have triple blockers, but with no cards in hand, it's kind of impossible at that point. And looks like they're going to stack on 10 into 8, and this one we can just protect. They are trying to get rid of the Kuzan because they realize how bad that Kuzan can actually be. They did have a blocker to be able to play out, but like I said, they'd be at 0 in hand. I think they played it fine, but we were just really able to grind them out with all of our AK bodies. Into Nami, I think this matchup is okay for us. They did choose to go first, which is not great for us, of course. We do have double searcher, so we can go Kobe, Marineford. I think that's fine. We essentially are hoping to find a 2-cost Rosi to be able to ramp up on 4. What's really important is to be able to find all of our Admirals, which we have plenty here. We have Sakazuki. We now have all 3 of them, so pretty good for us. And then I think we can grab this Rosi to guarantee to ramp up the next turn. We are set for the game. We just need to make sure that we're staying as healthy as possible. Nami has great ways of ripping life with the 5-cost Nami that can really hurt us. 8 into lead, of course, we're just going to take this one. We're going to take the first hit for the most part anyway, so not the worst thing in the world. We're getting another blocker, Rosi, which maybe we could have grabbed something else if we knew that was coming, but obviously we don't, so not really anything we can do there. There's an argument to not swing here because then they would have to play out something. They're going to be able to then put something in their trash and also get their leader ability off potentially this next turn as well. So maybe there's a turn where we just don't swing, but I like swinging against Nami anyway, just to get cards out of hand. Down comes Zoro. I don't expect this on 5, but I mean, back to 5 life, pitching a card from hand, 6 in a lead. Not awful. I think what we can do is just give them a counter so they're not having a card draw off of this. I think that's fine. And then what we can do here is just swing 5 into lead again, force the card out of hand, and then play out the Borsalino or a Kuzan. I think either are fine. They're going to go ahead and play that out. I think what we can do is just play the Kuzan then instead because we don't necessarily need any... I guess maybe the Borsalino would have been, but the better option. But you're not going to know that really, so it's okay. We might be able to find another Kuzan this next turn just to be able to play a full 3. I do like the Kuzan, though, just in case they are playing blockers in the next turn or 2. Sometimes they play 4-cost Marco. We'll go ahead and take the 7, and then if they swing again, I might just have to block this one with the Rosi. That might be better. I think that might be better, but we'll see what they do. Down comes a Rayleigh. Okay, Rayleigh is not awful, but the Rayleigh means that they're not using their leader ability this turn. Swinging 5 into lead, I think... Oh gosh, do I counter out of this one? I think I might take it. I don't know. This one's a tough one. I think I might just give them a counter because I don't want to go down to 2. For this turn, we can swing into their leader and they won't have leader ability, but I think I need to find another Kuzan first, so let's go ahead and use the Suru. Grabbing, I think Buddha is definitely a card we're going to need to grab just to see a little bit further into the deck, so let's grab the Buddha, pitching out the 3 Admirals. And grabbing a Kuzan and a Kobe, and I think we just pitched the Kobe to the Buddha effect. This way we have 3. We also have a backup Kuzan, or sorry, rather Sakazuki instead. And then what we can do is we might want to swing first at lead. I'm not entirely sure. No. Let's go ahead and just use our ability to bring out the 3 Admirals. That way we will be able to play these out, ramp up, kind of see what our options are. Go ahead and use this effect to minus 6,000 to the Zoro, and then use this to ramp up further, and then swing 2 into 0. This is very likely going down. This from here, I can swing 5 into lead, 8 into lead, and then we might leave Dawn open for the 3 Admirals event. We could also play out a Rosi blocker with no effect. I think we might just leave the Dawn open. I think that's probably okay. And then use the Borsellino effect to have one blocker. So we are going to take one life potentially and then block another hit. So I don't necessarily want to drop a 3 Admirals for like a 5 or 6k swing. Kind of weird. So we have a bunch of options though. We also could use our Marineford, although we don't necessarily need to cycle anything out of our hand right now. So it's not the best use of that stage. I think it might just be fine to play out a Rosie blocker just to guarantee we have double blocker up for the next turn. Kind of depending on what they do. Kumasi, oh gosh. So they're getting their effects. They're getting their bodies back out. Kind of annoying to see, but hey, it's okay. We'll go ahead and play the Rosie over the Kobe and then pass the turn. 2 cards in hand. You know what? With 7 in hand, I think we could probably just pass. I don't want to do the Marineford and then also the Borsellino. There's a lot of like little micro decisions we have to think about and consider based off of our Dawn. So minus with the Marineford and then minus with the Borsellino might be putting us a little too far back. Nico Robin, hate to see it. We don't really have a way to really interact with this card, so I kind of have to just, deal with it. 5 in a lead. Well, this is awkward. What do we do? I think we just take the first one, see if they swing anything else. If they swing their leader, we just free block it. If they swing the Rayleigh, we can block it with the Rosie blocker so that we're opening up space on the board. We have a couple options here. I think we just free block this one, and then if they go 7 with their leader, then like I said, we just block with the Rosie. 7 in the lead, block, and then we hopefully draw into something decent, although we're going to probably just play the Sakazuki anyway. First things first, let's go ahead and use the Sakazuki ability so we can ramp up. Going to 8, although we are not going to be using our ability, but we will be able to play out Sakazuki and then leave one open for the 3 Admirals event. We can also play out or use the Sakazuki ability as well to ramp up, so that's good for us. We're going to minus the Nico Robin because I don't really want to deal with the Nico Robin, so I think we're just going to go ahead and try to get rid of this thing. Swinging into it, try to get rid of their entire board. I don't mind taking one hit here, so we'll go 6 into 2, and then we will start swinging into the rest of their board, of course. This goes down, we take a hit, which is good for us because we are getting cards in hand, although going down to 1 can be scary, especially since Nami has 4 life left, so it's like we haven't done any damage to them this entire game. That's just how it goes, though. We're going to go ahead and, like I said, get rid of the bodies on the board and hope that when we do swing into their face, that we are not getting any bodies out of life from them. 8 into 6. Now we swing another 8 and another 8. Well, I don't know if I want to use the Marineford effect. This is the thing. We can use this as much as we want, but when our hand is like fine, like there's not really a reason to use it unless we just like dig into the deck, and then if we draw a bad card, we can just pitch it immediately. I guess there is like upside to doing that, so maybe we consider that before we pass the turn. They do take that one hit. Finally, we made some damage to them. And of course, it's a trigger. So Perona comes right back out. We'll go ahead and use the effect because, like I said, if we get a bad card, we can just pitch it. So we'll just pitch the Kobe. We don't really need the Kobe overall. And then we can have the Borsellino restand itself. On 10, they could be playing out the 10 cost Newgate. 8 cost Kid. That is probably the worst option for me. I didn't even consider that they might be running this. I don't really see Nami list running Kid, but I guess in this specific scenario, it's actually pretty good. So it looks like we're going to block 1 and then give them a 2k on another swing. So I think that's fine here. We do want them to swing both of them, so we might be able to trade into the bodies. I think that might be best for us. We'll go ahead and free block that one, and then with the 6 coming to face with this one, we'll go ahead and give them a Sengoku. Although, maybe there's an argument to drop the 3 Admirals while we have Dawn open, but double Admiral for the next turn is pretty good overall. Well, we could just go for game as well. There's a world where we do the 3 Admirals event and then buff our Admiral characters up and then swing in really heavily. That is a little bit risky, but I think we're at a point where we might need to do that based off our hand size. Yeah, with the Buddha being the card that we draw, I think let's just go ahead and use our Sakazuki abilities. This one, we're not really getting good efficiency off of it, so let's use the Marineford first so that we're getting the full efficiency off of our Sakazuki abilities, getting the 2 Dawn instead. And then here, what we can do is do the 3 Admirals. We'll just swing 5 into lead first, just get the leader ability out of the way. Out comes a Nico Robin, and then what we can do is 3 Admirals to buff up 3 Admirals. And then we can probably do it again, right? Another 3 Admirals to buff up another 3 Admirals. Let's swing first and see what happens, though, because I think that's probably a little bit better before committing to buffing up more Admirals, although it doesn't really hurt to do that. I guess we could also have swung 8s first, get more cards out of hand, but I think just trying to push for this game is probably our best bet right now. You might argue that it's a little bit early to do this, but based off of the fact that we have not a great way to answer their board, and also we need to start closing the game out because we don't have cards in hand, means that I'm going to try my best here to go for game. If this 10 connects, I think we're in a really good spot, but it depends if they are able to counter out of this one. I think we still have potential, but it means that every other hit has to connect, which is really a hard ask. Alrighty, it does connect. Good to see. Maybe? What is the trigger? It's the Moria, but what do they bring out? No. No! That's like the worst thing we could possibly see. Okay, so that's actually a really game-breaking trigger. We might actually lose this based off of it. So let's see what they do based off of the next couple of hits here. They do take that other 10, so let's buff up these three. And then we can do a 10, 11, and then 12, which maybe we'll be able to break through. If they take this 10, I'm really confident, or more confident rather, that the other two will go through. We'll have to see though. That Zoro, what a trigger to have. What a really good trigger to have. You know, I mean, that's Nami gaming for you at times, but there is still a chance that we can win this based off of the attacks that are coming through here. They do take that 10. You're saying there's a chance. Okay, so 11 into 7, really clean number here. And then, of course, we have the 12 as well. If they're going to counter out of any of these, I would imagine they probably would have counter out of the 10. But maybe they're wanting me to go face so that I don't answer their board as well. So something to keep in mind, but it doesn't matter with only 2 cards in hand. I'm dead like no matter what. So we just kind of have to push for game here. 12 into 7. Let's see if they have it. If they have it, that Zoro came in incredibly clutch. 2K. 2K. It looks like they might have it. They might have it. 1K? Do they have it? They do have it. It was incredibly close. I think that that Zoro actually just ended up winning the game for them. But you know what? That's how the game goes sometimes. Nami can win off of triggers, but they can also just not see anything and you can just beat them outright anyway. Let's see if we can find another Nami and hopefully the outcome is a little bit better. Into starter deck 30, Luffy and Ace. I think this matchup is somewhat difficult for us because they provide a lot of pressure every turn. But we are going first, so we can use the Buddha event, grabbing a Garp and a Borsalino, and I think any of these cards are fine. Maybe the Sengoku. I think any of the cards are fine to dump other than Lightning. I think having a Rosie blocker can come in handy in late game stages. I think having a Suru as a potential search is pretty important. Maybe the Sengoku could be useful to get the draw or the filter going. But most importantly, I think for the next turn, what we can do is set up with the Suru if we don't find anything optimal off of our draw, and then play the Garp on 5. The Garp on 5 is really good for us because it allows the Dawn to come in active so that we can swing with our leader and pressure them, which I think is one of the hardest things to do against a 6,000 power leader and for life is pressure. They are dumping out an Ivankov and a Jinbei 2K counter. Is that a 2K counter? I think it's not a 2K counter. I think it's just a regular 1K. But anyway, Moby Dick comes down, which will grab whatever they want and not even show me. So how rude is that? This card is incredibly good for any Whitebeard leader, especially red, blue, ace. I think this card is incredible in that deck. Obviously, their options are going to be limited, but if I was them, I'd probably be grabbing a 4-cost character for the next turn. I think we just swing 8 into lead, get some pressure going. I don't want to dump a Suru because Suru is not really a great card to have. And maybe over the next turn or two, we can draw into some more Admirals and hopefully be able to pop off on a Dawn. This turn, of course, I would fully expect them just to swing 6 or maybe even 7 with their leader, and then they would probably play a 4-cost character. 4-cost character it is. This Luffy is incredibly good. We will take that 6 because we want to see more cards. Another Admiral down out of the way. We just need to have a Sakazuki, and then we will be set. My prayers have been answered. So we'll go ahead and play the Garp. I haven't played a card harder than I've played that Garp there, and then we'll go ahead and swing 6 in a lead, pressure them once more, see if we can get a card out of hand. And then we're set for this next turn. We can use our leader ability and then trade into the board pretty easily. What's nice about the Sakazuki is that the leader effect of giving their Luffy or their aces plus 3,000 power on defense does not matter because we subtract the 6,000. Very easy to swing into a 3,000 power character. This Luffy is actually incredibly good for them because it's immediate pressure for us. And obviously they can dawn up very easily and swing 7 3 times. If they do that, well, we're going to go ahead and counter out of this one because it's only a 6. If they wanted to, they could swing 7 7 7, and that'd be really painful to see, but it looks like they're just going to do 6 7 7, or even potentially 6 7 8, which we're going to take 2 of those and then counter out of 1, of course. Ooh, we could counter out of this one, but I think maybe going down to 2 is not the worst thing in the world to build up our hand size because we are dumping 3 cards this next turn. I'll go ahead and immediately use the effect Dawn -8, play out these 3 Admirals, and go ahead and use their effects. 2 rested, 1 active, 1 rested. Use the ability to minus the Luffy that rest a blocker. We'll go ahead and ramp up again. And then we do have an option to lightning if we want to, but I don't think we're going to do that. I think we just swing 7 into 3 and pretty much try to get this off the field. They have 1 open, which means it could potentially be a plus 4,000 event. So that's why I'm swinging 7 into 3 here, because they have to dump 2 cards from hand if that's the case. And then depending on what they do, I could also just swing another 7 into 3, or I might want to use the Gum Gum Lightning, although I think I want to hold on to that card for right now. Down it goes. Love to see that. We'll go ahead and just swing 6 into lead, pressure them once more, and then I think I just leave the 1 open to bluff for maybe an event. If we get an event out of life, that's pretty good for us, but otherwise, I think we just pass the turn. I'm not really worried about dying this turn. I don't think they can provide that much pressure, so I don't think I'm going to use my Borsalino effect and just hope for the best. If they do have another rush unit, hopefully it's like an ace or maybe another, I don't know, green Luffy. It doesn't really matter because I don't have a blocker. And I think that's a little bit better, at least, to spread their Dawn out. I think for me, okay, that's the worst thing I could see. I was hoping that they would play out like a 6-cost Law and not really swing at my face, not really provide any pressure. And it gets worse. And it gets worse. This Mr. 3 Galdino putting 2 Dawn underneath 6,000 power characters. So these Luffys are going to be swinging in for 8 minimum, putting Rested Dawn underneath whatever they want. And they also have Moby Dick to activate as well. So 8 into 5. I think I want them just to swing face. I don't want this Garp to go down. I think Garp is actually somewhat important here. Another 8 into 5. What? They could swing a 10 into my leader with their leader. I could counter out of it. Oh, I can definitely counter out of it now. Okay, so good thing we have the 1 open because we have the 3 Admirals out of life, which is very important to not dump as many cards out of hand this turn. We only have to dump 2 cards if they do the max of 10, which it looks like they are doing. Max of 10 to face. I'm going to go ahead and just use 3 Admirals, plus 4, and then a 2K counter. And then we should be able to somewhat take back the board here. Let's see what we get off of this Marineford. We're looking for a Sakazuki. I think it's going to be our best hit. We do find it. Perfect. Love to see that. And then we'll use the effect just to cycle our hand to see what else we can get here. Lightning might be a pitchable card, or Kobe. I think Lightning, because it doesn't have counter, I think that might be best. And we can't use it this turn. Well, I guess we could technically, but we're going to swing into these bodies anyway. So I think that's going to be kind of useless for us to play the Lightning. Dumping it from our hand is fine. They let it go down, and then what we can do is, I think, just get rid of this Galdino, because the Galdino actually is a pretty big threat overall. And then focus our attention to their face, because we're not going to be able to answer this Luffy unless they start countering out to these hits, which then we have that 1 Dawn open, which then we can swing in 9 to 9 and ask for another card. At this point, let's just try to close out the game or get close to closing out the game. I don't think we're going to do it this turn. Another 8 into 6, and then I think we can just do another 8 into 6 with this Borsalino. They do counter out of that one. Let's go ahead and use the effect. And I think we just swing another 8 into 6 here, not focus our attention on the Luffy, and then play out a Rosy blocker, one of the Rosy blockers that I've held into my hand since the beginning of the game, and one of the reasons why it's so good. Now we have double blockered up, and we are likely to maybe survive here depending on what they have. If they have any way to rest these blockers, we are in a little bit of trouble. For instance, if they are running DMG, we're in a lot of trouble. If they're running the 4-cost, well, they are running the 4-cost Luffy, the green one, but if they have it, we're in a little bit less trouble, but we still are in trouble because we have, well, only 1 2K in hand. That being said, we are putting them in a very uncomfortable position where they have to figure out lethal through double blockers. So depending on what they do here, I think this one's just a free, easy block with the Rosy. Like, I'm not going to block, give them any counter from hand. I think we just get this Rosy blocked anyway. And based off of the remaining Dawn, I think it's probably just going to be safer to do this anyway if they want to like divide it up between the Ivankov and their leader. With 8 Dawn, they could split it. They actually could split it. I don't know if that's the best use of their Dawn, but they could go like 7-9. They could go 8-8. They could go like 3 8s in a turn. That's also pretty solid. If it was 3 8s, then I'd have to block one, counter out of the other one. I think what we do is just give them counter here and then keep the blocker up for whatever last attack they have. Because if we just free block that one, they could stack all onto the Ivankov. We should be able to get out of that one, but I think it's better to force them into a little bit of more of an awkward situation where they don't put the Dawn on the Ivankov and maybe set up a turn where they have another rush unit, or try to be very defensive on their end. And if they are defensive with the blocker, the Kuzan can just turn that blocker off anyway. So despite them really providing so much pressure early, getting me down to 0 as fast as they did, I think we were able to turn it back right around because of the fact that these Sakazukis are just so good at trading into boards, especially Luffy and Ace. It just negates their leader ability for one of their characters. Inazuma is a good sign that they probably don't have something because they're looking for something, and I don't know what that something could be. You know what it could be? Is it could be a Brook. If they have a Brook to rest this Borsalino on 6, restand the Luffy, and then what, swing 9 because they're putting one underneath, that's actually a way they could win the game right now. That is one out that they have. Let's hope that they don't find it. If they find the Brook, we lose. If they, which usually they're running like maybe 1, maybe 2 copies of Brook. But if they don't find the Brook, we win. They didn't find a Brook, but that doesn't mean that they don't have one in hand already. It looks like they're just going to swing 6 into lead, not use the ability. I think they're just giving up here. We'll free block that one and then pass the turn. Yeah, that was actually insane. If they did find a Brook, we were in so much trouble. Another Nami opponent, and they choose to go first again. Unlucky. This hand is fine because we have, well, we drew into the Buddha. That's really nice, but it's really nice because we are able to then get another Buddha and a Kobe. Pitching out a Mamaragan's fine, and then we have the Rosie for the next turn as well. Too many Kuzans. That's too many Kuzans. We'll grab one of them and then pitch a Rosie and then pass the turn. This next turn, what we can do is swing 5, play the Rosie, ramp up, and then be able to play a 7 cost on the next turn. We will be happy with that, I suppose. We'll take the 8. The pitch to Moria, interesting to see. We'll go ahead and use the Rosie and then pass from here. They might play a Nami swing. No, they don't. That's good for us. They don't play the Nami. Really good for us. We'll go ahead and give them a 2K here, and this might be a Zoro. It could be anything, really, any of the slop. It is a Zoro. I feel like we've seen this play before. I'm going to go ahead and just play the... I think I just play the Buddha out. I was considering playing out a 7 cost, but of course, it's better just to establish a guaranteed next turn. Pitching out a Kobe because we have what we need. We'll use the Garp to ramp up, swing 5 in a lead, force another card out of hand, so they're down to 4, very likely. Another 8-cost Moria. That's a little bit scary. We'll go ahead and play out the other Rosie from hand, so now we have double blocker. Pretty good for us. We can block one of these hits for sure next turn, so we have board space. I think we just counter out of this one. I was like really on the fence there. I think we just block this next one. Yeah, I was just not sure. I don't want to give them any more card draw, and of course, I don't have that many cards in hand as well, so not great to see, but that's okay. That's part of what Sengoku kind of, I guess, is good at. I think it's just pretty much always going to be instantly snap and do the -8, play out the Kuzan, the Sakazuki, and the Borsalino. Really good here that they have a Marco on the field because we can actually use this effect to negate the Marco and prevent them from drawing. So we love that, especially since they are at 4 in hand. Let's go and minus the Zoro, prevent the Marco from blocking. Swing. I think I just swing this Rosie blocker. I'm going to be honest. I think you just swing the Rosie blocker, swing 2 into 0. Just be cheeky with it. I think that's fine. And then force them to dump cards from hand for my leader. Just like 7 into lead, another 7 into lead. Yeah, this is really good. I'm happy with this. And I'm also not going to block anything because of the fact that, well, what's the point? I think we need cards in hand. So if they want to hit my life, go for it. And if they want to swing into the bodies on board, yeah, go for it. I don't care about that. We're okay. We also have a Sakazuki as backup for the next turn if they do play something big right now, which doesn't look like they're going to do. I mean, maybe. They still have 8. 6 into 6. We're fine with doing this because of the fact that the Mamaragan is able to draw. Could we do another Admiral's turn? We possibly could get 2 of them out. Might not be the worst thing in the world. Just baiting out their leader ability. There it is. Let's go 7 into lead with this Garp. Just forcing cards out of hand where we can. Oh, man. Love to see more cards out of hand. We'll use the Sakazuki ability to ramp up. I'm considering it. I'm actually considering doing my leader ability, although I don't think that's probably going to be good for our hand size overall. We'll go ahead and swing Borsalino and also Kuzan as well. They give us a baby 5 2K counter. Happy to see more cards out of hand. Also happy for them to take life. I'm really happy with all of these options. Perona's not the worst thing in the world because of the fact that like these bodies aren't too scary for us. We'll go ahead and minus the Teach. Use the Sakazuki ability to ramp up, and then I think we just pass from there. The Borsalino is a really good blocker in this scenario because I don't think they're going to really be able to pressure our bodies too much. They might want to pressure the Garp. If they pressure the Garp, I'm totally happy with that. I don't care. If they turn their attention to the other Admirals, then that's where it becomes a problem. 8 into 8, this is where it becomes a problem. We'll go ahead and give them a 1K. We have 1 card left in hand. But it's important to try to keep these bodies on board. Oh, it goes down. It is what it is. A Borsalino coming in for them is interesting to see. I was going to assume they'd get rid of the rest of the bodies. I am surprised they did not. We'll go ahead and grab a Sakazuki, and I think we just play out the Sakazuki again. Preventing the Teach from really swinging in without investing Dawn, I think is a really good play on our end. And then from here, what we can do is just swing 5. They might want to free block it. If they free block, then we can always turn our attention into it and get that blocker off the field, instantly using their leader ability. So we'll go ahead and put Dawn underneath the Garp. Swing 7. They're going to just counter out. I am not really scared of any of this. We'll go ahead and go 9 into lead. We don't have a way to prevent the Borsalino from blocking because they got rid of the Kuzan, and that's okay. We'll go ahead and then restand this Borsalino, and we're not going to swing any of our other Admirals because if we do, they are going to go down. And I don't care if the Garp goes down this turn. I really don't. I think it's fine if the Garp goes down. Looks like they're going to swing into it and get rid of it. That's fine. I'd rather them, start focusing their attention into my face now. So we'll just go ahead and let the Garp go. Not that we really had an option of protecting it. This game is a lot scarier than the last. I'm in a really bad spot. No cards in hand. Or rather, Borsalino's not really a card in hand, to be quite fair. We're going to go ahead and take these. I don't really care if they are swinging at my face. I'm not going to take the bait and block with the Borsalino. As soon as I free block with the Borsalino, they're going to turn their attention into it anyway, so I think it's fine to do. Another Borsalino hits the field. Hate to see it. That's all right. We will... I guess we just have to swing 5 into lead. 5 into lead's a good telltale. Okay, they're going to go ahead and just pitch a card. 8 into lead. They might just block with the Marco while they can still do it. Interesting to see that they don't do that. 8 into lead again. There he is. I was expecting at least 1 block from the Marco while they still have the opportunity. And then let's see what we can get. I'm just going to try to get cards out of hand right now. 8 into 5. This is a little bit of an int swing, but I think I just want to prevent this loop from continuing on going on. Verona, it is what it is. I think attacking face was fine as well, but we'll go ahead and grab it, double 2K, and then pitch out the Garp. And then I'm just going to go ahead and play this Borsalino and then ramp up here. Leaving 2 Dawn open, we'll restand the other Borsalino and then have the other Borsalino be a blocker. I think we need to at this point in the game with only 3 cards in hand, and then kind of force them into a spot where either they try to reclaim the board, which is going to be hard with a 3 Admirals event, or maybe they just go face. Looks like they're just going to go face, and I'm going to free block that first one. I think it's fine to go ahead and do so. We could have given them a 2K as well. Do they go into the bodies? They do. We'll give them a 2K here, and let's see if they give any more. We're going to give them the 3 Admirals event. Absolutely. We love doing that. And then Kuma. Interesting to see. They're just going to continue to heal up, just doing Nami things, of course. We will go ahead and just get a card out of hand, go 5 into lead. This could also be a free block, but cards out of hand is a lot better for us. Let's go ahead and use the Sakazuki ability to ramp up. We don't have any way to ramp up any further. We'll swing 10 into 10. We're just going to try to get cards out of their hand or bodies off the field. Interesting to see that went down. Okay. 8 into 5. This one goes down as well. Clearing the board out to the best of our ability. We'll go 8 into lead. Another 8 into lead. Another 8 into lead. We'll play out the other Borsalino. And I think we might just triple blocker up. I think that's probably going to be our best bet. Oh my gosh. Another trigger. Always triggered. It is what it is. We'll go ahead and just play out the Borsalino over one of these guys. It doesn't really matter too much. Ramp up. We don't have anything to ramp. And then we will then de-ramp 3 times to have 3 blockers. That way we are guaranteed at least these 3 can stay alive. Or with only 1 card in hand, stay alive at that point as well. We'll take the 8. They get the card draw. And then from here, they have to math it out correctly. We'll probably take 1 more hit, although this is a little bit tricky. I think we just free block this one. If we do allow one of these hits to go through, they could always give a character unblockable with the 3-cost Sanji. Free block it is, easy enough. Nico Robin comes down to heal back up. It was another trigger in life as well. Hate seeing that, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and ramp up as much as we possibly can, and we have Gum Gum Lightning as well to get rid of one of these Borsalinos. We'll go ahead and just get it off the field immediately. I think we just swing 7 here. This way, they have to give 2 cards with the leader ability and a 1K. Another 8 into lead. This has to be 2K out of hand, and if it is, we can always turn our attention into other things. Although we could just close out the game right here as well. I think we have the numbers to get through. We can go 8. We can go 9. Oh, that changes it a little bit, but I think we'll still be okay. And then we can go another 9, and then a 10 into lead, and then restand 3 characters and have a couple counter in hand. Although I think we just are able to close... We're not. Okay, well, I guess we aren't able to close out, and that's fine. We'll do a 9 into lead, force them to use the Borsalino blocker, restand 3 of these Borsalinos, have Dawn open just in case we have an Admiral event, and then I accidentally just redid that. Okay, that was my bad. Just ignore that. I didn't do that. You didn't see anything there. If this is an Admiral event, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to go ahead and just block this one, I think. Just block this one and let it go. I think it's fine to just let some of these characters go. That was a mistake on my part. I forgot about the Dawn underneath my leader. I'm just sometimes dumb. It happens. They're going to go a bunch of 8s. Looks like they're just trying to crack through. I think we just block this one, 1K, and then they can't close out the game from here. I think, got a little bit lucky that even though we played that really poorly on that last turn, we still came out all right. What I really like about all of the new leaders from OP16 is it feels like they are all somewhat viable in the meta currently. Even Sengoku, even Red Ace, I really like the fact that this deck can have really good games against some of the top dogs out there, as you saw with some of the Nami matches that we had today. Even though we lost one of them, it was a very close match where they got a little bit luck-sacky, which it happens against Nami. You should always expect Trigger to at least prevent you from winning. But that being said, we were right there with them. You know, that's the best deck in the format, and we were able to really just handle it quite well. As I mentioned in the intro, I don't think there's too much that I would really change. Maybe some of the ratios if you want to add more Marineford, because this is a pretty good card, but obviously just another brick at the end of the day. Some other cards that I have been testing out include this 6-cost Rosie blocker from EBO4. It's under the rules of the game. Also treat this card's name as Law, and Rosie, it doesn't really matter for this, but because it is a Navy type card, we are able to search it out, and it has on play if the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to or less than the number on your opponent's field, draw 1 card, and then add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So if you are de-ramping, you can play this the following turn and then ramp up again and also draw a card. So nice in some scenarios, but I didn't find myself really wanting to play this out as much as maybe some of the Admirals instead. Another card worth considering is the 2K Usohachi, just an additional way to bypass blockers, 5 cost or less. I think with the build we have, Mamaragan kind of plays a little bit better role, just being able to synchronize with Sakazuki a little bit better, but Usohachi is worth considering. Divine Departure is also another card because we are running a lot of bricks you might want to consider for the deck. It has a couple of modes here, obviously being able to pitch out a brick so that you can go plus 3,000 on defense. The other part of it being able to rest 6 Dawn cards total because one of them has to be attached, minus 8,000 power to a character for that turn, so being able to trade into things pretty easily is really nice. Of course, having 6 Dawn to really play with can be somewhat difficult, especially if you are trying to play your Admiral turns, but you can use this in the turn after the Admirals because you usually will have around 6 Dawn anyway to be able to play, and then it further trade into bodies, which is really nice. I'm not the biggest fan of this card in the deck, but I do think Frankie is worth considering if you do need additional card draw or ways to protect yourself with the blocker. And then finally, the other card I've been playing and considering is Slow Beam, just being able to have a solid plus 2,000 on defense and then also rest something on your opponent's side of the field, whether it's a big attacker or a blocker, can come in quite handy. With all that in mind, let me know in the comments below if there's any other spicy additions you've added to Sengoku that maybe I didn't consider. Would love to hear from you guys. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.